I've got to start this one by saying that I don't really like having to do this video. I've been a semi-consistent viewer of TotalBiscuit stuff for quite a few years now. I was initially drawn into his channel by his coverage of Wrath of the Lich King, arguably World of Warcraft's best expansion. And even after I stopped playing WoW, I continued to watch his content on a semi-regular basis. TotalBiscuit has always seemed to be on the side of the consumer, the audience, the little guy. For example, during Gamergate, when in response to every major video games press outlet attacking gamers as a group, and the readers of those outlets deciding to boycott and dissuade advertisers from their partnerships, TotalBiscuit supported them. He said that, due to the relative lack of power that consumers have, their only recourse to an ideological attack is through an embargo. In other words, when we were attacked by the games press for being gamers, TB asserted that not only was it right for us to vote with our wallets, but that we were individually so powerless against those with an established platform, it was the only thing possible for us to do. This is a position that TotalBiscuit has consistently held. Remember this tweet? When the dust settles, remember who it was that fed their own readership to the wolves? I will. TB knows that it's a consumer base that makes a successful business, and I think he's smart enough to know that this applies to YouTubers as much as it applies to journalists. Or how about this exchange? Just saw some footage from Mortal Kombat from TotalBiscuit. Holy shit, fighting games and their misogynistic female depictions. People get their spines ripped out in this game and you're concerned about skimpy clothing? Yes, fantasy violence doesn't affect me. Misogyny does. Fantasy misogyny. TB also knows that social justice gone rampant leads to ridiculous censorship, and that the political left is just as capable of producing moral busybodies as the political right. Why am I going over all of this? Because I want it clearly established that the TotalBiscuit I've been watching all this time, up until this past weekend, appeared to value freedom of expression over subjectively hurt feelings, and understood the lack of institutional might beyond pure purchasing power that a consumer has in a marketplace. CoxCon is a convention run by Jesse Cox, another YouTuber that is close friends with TotalBiscuit. The con is designed to be an internet-based event where people can interact with large YouTubers and enjoy online culture. And here's what went down at Jesse Cox's Q&A panel.
Yo, in the back. What up, dude? So, me and a couple friends were having a discussion about this at the bar last night. Are traps gay? What? Are traps gay? No, genuine question.
Ah yes, the ultimate question. Who can say if traps are gay or not? If a straight man is attracted to a trap, it is, by definition, entrapment, isn't it? They thought they were pitching a tent over a hot woman, after all. Maybe if the boner deflates upon realizing that it's actually a guy they're looking at, then they're not gay. But that's physiologically impossible for a fully erect penis to go limp instantaneously. Perhaps there's wiggle room, where if it takes longer than, say, 30 seconds for your dick to take a breather, then you can consider yourself to be gay. Or what if? What if the "are traps gay" question isn't actually referring to whether or not you're gay if you're attracted to the trap? What if it's referring to the trap himself? What if the question could be more accurately worded as, if a person is a trap, are they also gay? Is it possible to be a male that passes as a trap, but still be entirely heterosexual yourself? Or, what if, just what if, the question refers to all of gayness? Not just are traps gay, but are gays traps? What if the only way to be gay is to be a trap, and all of those masculine men fucking each other are just closeted straight guys? Look at this fucking dude's face, man. It looks like he just doesn't know that he's at a convention based on memes, and that he just got memed on. Because that's exactly what this is. It's a meme. It's a silly, stupid joke. But TotalBiscuit didn't take it that way. We condemn the transphobic question asked at the CoxCon panel. If anyone knows the identity of the person, please inform a member of staff. So, TB, the champion of the little guy, of free speech, thinks that "are traps gay" is transphobic. Enough to warrant a witch hunt. While there's a lot wrong with this line of thinking, I'm going to begin by asking, why? This is Laura Kate Dale. She's most well known for breaking a lot of news about the Nintendo Switch for over 6 months before it was announced, due to being in contact with an inside source. She even announced the Mario Rabbids crossover that we saw at E3 this past year, well before the Switch's launch, and she was called a liar when said game wasn't in the initial Switch announcement, only for her to say, "Hold on guys, it's coming." And she was right. I started following her on Twitter about a year ago for those sweet, sweet Switch leaks, and she seems to be a nice enough person, if not a bit too SJW-y for me. But also, due to following her, I've seen her IRL photos and political posts, and in case it's not obvious by her picture, she's trans. And unfortunately, she really doesn't seem to pass. I'm sorry, Laura, fate dealt you a bad hand. I sympathize, I'm no great catch either. But Laura was at CoxCon. She had this to say about it. Seriously, fuck the person who asked are traps gay during the CoxCon opening ceremony. Whoever you are, fuck you. Apparently, the question struck a nerve. I wonder what the problem is. Short version, they were asking if a man attracted to trans women is gay, the implication being the trans woman is really a man. There's an obvious problem here. Traps are not trans people. Trans people experience gender dysphoria, meaning that they were born biologically as one sex, generally male, but they wish to present and live out their lives in the body of the other sex, generally female. Of course, it does play out the other way around, female to male, but the vast majority of trans people are male to female. Trans people often try their best, with varying amounts of success, to pass. That is, appear physically indistinguishable from the gender that they desire to be, rather than the physical sex that they were born as. Some may take hormones or have surgery performed to help achieve this, some may not. But they all live out their lives as their desired gender, morning, noon, and night. Traps are different. Traps are kind of like crossdressers or drag queens. But with a crossdresser or a drag queen, you can almost always tell that it's somebody who was born as a man, lives as a man, but is wearing women's clothing and makeup. And yes, sometimes the opposite is true too with drag kings. Unlike crossdressers, traps are indistinguishable from the gender that they're mimicking, but it is a mimicry. Traps don't experience gender dysphoria. They have no desire to transition, they have no desire to take hormones or have surgery performed, and when they're not trapping it up, they feel and present like their biological sex. They're called traps because, as the meme goes, a straight man might see a trap and go, whoa, she's cute, not knowing it's actually a dude underneath the costume. Most of the time, traps are either somebody with a fetish or cosplayers or something, but they're certainly not the same thing as a trans person. So, why is Laura conflating traps with trans people? Because on the social justice oppression hierarchy, cross-dressing men with trap fetishes and so on, are offensive to trans people. Their enjoyment of drag subculture cheapens the trans lived experience, didn't you know? That's why trap is just such a fucking gross term to use, even though it's not actually directed at you, Laura. The implication being trans people are implicitly deceptive and trick people into finding them attractive. It's not directed at you, Laura. 1. Traps by definition are not trans people. And their explicit purpose is in fact to deceive. That's why they're called traps. 2. Calling a question about traps transphobic is inherently transphobic because it conflates trans people with crossdressers and drag queens, something that the trans community finds horribly offensive. And 3. Do you actually think that trans people don't deceive others? Trans, like any human, come in all stripes, and are capable of both great good and great evil. Do you think there hasn't been a trans person who's been deceptive in this manner before? I'd be surprised if that were the case, not because they're trans, but because they're human. Oh, I see. Even if that's its hypothetical origin, it is often used against trans folk these days. So, forget the origin of a term. If it's been appropriated to use against trans people sometimes, that makes it completely beyond the pale, right? So like, if someone decided to insultingly call a trans person a sandwich, because sometimes people sandwich their dick in between their thighs in order to hide it, I guess that term is just out the fucking window. What do I call this thing now? What do I say when I want my girlfriend to get back in the kitchen and make me lunch? In the end, though, TotalBiscuit's witch hunt for the memer at large was successful, ending with the ejection of the person in question from the event. His ticket didn't get refunded, but TB did take the money the person used to pay for the ticket and gave it to the Albert Kennedy Trust, an LGBT charity. Laura later did say that she was aware of the broader context, but still thought that it was a shitty question that made folk uncomfortable, and I'm glad it was shut down. I wonder when the word folk went in my head from sounding like a redneck colloquialism to an SJW buzzword. And even though Laura said she was done with the topic, she later stated that she didn't request that the person asking the question get the boot. It's been floating around for a while now that it was Laura who pulled those strings, probably because she's a high-profile trans person who was at the convention and clearly took offense to it. I don't know if that's true. TotalBiscuit did have the following exchange, though. It's not at all surprising that the kind of people who would oppose our action are the kind of people we wouldn't want here anyway. Look, it's your show and you do what you want, but getting this angry because of a stupid question, isn't it a bit too much? Because in real life, when people come to you in tears because they think someone at the show is there to fuck with them, you have to react. All I have to say to that is, wow. Is that all it takes? Tears? TB, if someone comes up to you in tears and says, I'm just so triggered right now because I was raped with a halibut, and your alternate name is Total Halibut, please change it. Are you just gonna give in and change it for their sake? Are you gonna eject yourself from your own show, buddy? If this is the criteria that you take a stand on, that someone's feelings were hurt, can that not apply to literally anything? And let's be frank here. This person that approached you, are they not one of the most paranoid motherfuckers out there to assume that the meme "Are Traps Gay" is a personal declaration against them? I really don't care about the drama. And at the surface, that's what this is. Ridiculous e-drama that spilled into the real world and caused people to lose their shit. But TotalBiscuit's resorted to posts like this. We won't bow to trolls. We won't cower in fear from online mobs. Here's a solid middle finger to the flaccid trolling today, cowards. If I removed his name and replaced it with Zoe Quinn's Twitter handle, could you tell the difference? Laura states that there was awkward silence after the question, but it sounds like a lot of laughter to me.
Are traps gay? What?
Maybe, if you want your safe space to remain sacrosanct, you should have also kicked out everyone who dared to chuckle at what was obviously a joke. Internet edgelords are not welcome in the event we paid to host, and if you think any other opinion matters, you are delusional. Dude, that is your entire audience. What's one extra cancer to crush? Remember, before you got cancer, TB, you told people to get cancer and die? The transphobic question? Remember, TB, before CoxCon, you used to make fun of the ridiculousness of my pronouns, saying that you identified as a toaster? Remember when Laura was on your podcast and it was literally one of the worst podcasts you've ever recorded, and you reacted to criticism of it by playing the trans card extensively? I also remember another podcast in that same series, recorded during Gamergate's height with JonTron as a guest, where you were quite anti-SJW and anti-censorship. Times change, I guess. Oh, and I can't find this one unfortunately because you've recorded millions of these things, but on one of those podcasts, Jesse Cox himself brought up the "Are traps gay?" question, and his answer then was simple. No. Why didn't you just say that again, Jesse? I want to make this clear. This isn't about the drama, in the same way that Gamergate wasn't about Zoe Quinn's personal drama. Fuck the drama. This is about the discovery that the people that we thought were on the level, the people that we thought were ethical and principled, actually weren't. Man, TotalBiscuit was the guy who said that the use of a false DMCA against Mundane Matt by Zoe Quinn was disgusting. TotalBiscuit was the guy that signal boosted Alex Mauer's attacks on YouTubers who dared to do videos on StarMazer DSP. TotalBiscuit was one of Gamergate's biggest voices, always standing on the side of journalistic integrity and supporting the consumer's right to purchase or boycott as they see fit. TotalBiscuit was the guy who defended hatred's right to exist when everyone wanted that game's development to be shut down due to their feels. TotalBiscuit, up until CoxCon, was a champion of free speech, a center point of meme culture, a supporter of ethical conduct and transparency, and most importantly, he understood that you don't shit on your audiences. Remember when Gabe Newell said that you should never cross the internet because the internet will deconstruct your spin every single time?
I think you have to stop thinking that you're in charge and start thinking that you're having a dance, right? We used to think we're smart. Robin is almost, but nobody is smarter than the internet. Like a lot of people will point to some individual thing at the internet and say, "Oh, that's really stupid," but in aggregate, it's like one of the things we learned pretty early on is don't ever try to lie to the internet because they will catch you, they will deconstruct your spin, they will remember everything you ever say, for eternity. So, and you can see sort of like old school companies really struggle with that. They still think that they can be in control of the message because they go to press people and then the press people repeat what they're told. And then 5 seconds later, somebody's posting, goats having sex with a PR person, on 4chan, and completely calling bullshit on whatever it was. So, the internet in aggregate is scary smart, and the sooner people accept that and start to trust that that's the case, I think the better they're going to be at interacting with it.
Remember again, TB. You said, when the dust settles, remember who it was who fed their readers to the wolves? Well, here's one of his deleted tweets. How will my business survive if the people who hate me and weren't subscribed unsubscribe? How, Twitter, share your expertise? Stage 1 of shitting on your own audience. But I'm sure we can go deeper. Guess what? You are a very, very small fish in a very populous and vast ocean. Oh, you have an opinion on what content I should make. Great. So do the other 710,000 subscribers. Big deal. No big channel listens to the content the viewers want to watch. We look at graphs and charts to figure that out. Let's be honest, you don't know anything about running a channel of this size, you have no experience in it, so I'm not really interested in your business advice. I'm unsubbing. I enjoy your content and think you're pretty funny, but whenever I see a comment like this, I lose respect for you. Ignore the idiots, don't say you're nothing to me. Not nice to see another one of my favorite internet idols fall to their ego. I'm sorry. You've already been replaced. No, you don't matter to me. I don't know you. You're one of hundreds of thousands of people, and yet you expect to be treated like a friend. You're not a friend. I have no idea who you are. We get 800 to 1,000 new subscribers every single day. No one in the world would possibly care about each individual, and anyone that says otherwise is lying to you. If you would prefer to be lied to rather than told the truth, by all means unsub. And in the end, this seems to be the real TotalBiscuit right here. This exchange is from 2013, from before Gamergate, and I only learned of it when, during the CoxCon controversy, this image comparing TotalBiscuit to Freddie Mercury began making the rounds. Compare TB's quote to Freddie's regarding his own significantly larger fame. I'm sure Freddie wasn't best buds with his own fanbase either. When you reach millions of followers, in any field, it does become impossible to be close to them all. But here's the difference. He wasn't an asshole about it. He didn't say, oh, I'm big now, and you're just one person, so fuck you. It is impossible to please everybody, but that's not an excuse to treat the people that you're not pleasing like garbage. And this is a lesson that TotalBiscuit is learning the hard way. He's not gaining 800 to 1,000 subscribers a day anymore. In fact, since CoxCon, he's actually consistently been losing subs. We saw this with the Fine Bros attempting to copyright the reaction video format. We saw this with Angry Joe, who recently blew up at his own followers when they didn't like a Game of Thrones video that he made. We saw this with Spoonie, who went from an internet giant to a nobody. All of these people have something in common. They got so big that they forgot where they came from. Their size overshadowed the ethical base that they built their channels upon. YouTubers in general are seen by the average viewer to be less professional but more honest than traditional media. This applies to more than just the gaming circles of YouTube too. Alternative media is considered to be less corrupt than mainstream news sources. Do-it-yourself videos and channels on YouTube are less likely to be promoting a specific brand or line of product or tools, and so on. YouTube is a platform built on the premise that your average Joe, untouched by the powers that be, may give his opinion on any topic. And every single large channel, including TotalBiscuit, including Angry Joe and Spoonie, gained success partially because of that implicit trust. And TotalBiscuit is just the next dude in another long line of dudes who have decided to discard that trust in favor of their own pride. And I know that you don't care about me, man. I'm just another pleb, but I'm unsubbing. In your own words, I'm doing the only thing that a consumer can do when in opposition to a large entity like your channel. I'm participating in the boycott. Maybe it'll do nothing to you. Maybe it will do something, if enough plebs like me feel the same way that I do. But you don't care, do you? You made that clear back in 2013. I'm a small channel. The SFO channel is sitting at 5,800 subs right now. My gaming channel is at 340. I'm one of those nobodies that TB's talking about. And I'll be honest with you all, I would love to be in his position right now. My goal is to grow into a large presence on YouTube. It's what I want to do as a career, more than anything else. And I could never fathom treating any of my viewers the way that these people seem to treat theirs. Is it size? Does growing past 1 million subs suddenly turn everyone into a raging asshole and that's just inevitable? I don't think so. Look at JonTron, for example. Entirely uncompromising in what he says regardless of the consequences. Look at Kriparian, his entire community is full of shit posters and he loves it. Look at PewDiePie, stands by free speech, and he's the biggest YouTuber on the planet. I know this is a developer, but look at Notch, no fucks given. Even an Ego Raptor over at Game Grumps has a stripe of this. He outright stated during his Mega Man X solo play that he chooses not to read negative comments, but he doesn't block or ban people. He does what people who value their audience do. He allows them to express his opinion even when he disagrees. He doesn't disable comments or the like-dislike function on his videos, like Joe and TB have recently done. Honestly, if somebody told me a few years ago that Lacey Green would be leaving the cult of the SJW and TotalBiscuit would be joining it, I would have never believed you. I guess that's the defining difference between somebody who understands that it's okay for their romantic partner to have another point of view and somebody that doesn't. And again, I know I'm small, but look at me, too. Here's an example. A longtime viewer and friend, Dynasty Star, came up to me a few days ago and stated that he had a serious problem with my video game stream. We were playing too many games at once, finishing too few of them, and it was becoming disappointing and hard to follow. We listened to his complaints, discussed it among ourselves, and found that we agreed with him. We told everyone in our Discord, with a private message to Dynasty Star as well, that we were going to be focusing on 3 games going forward, Breath of the Wild, Mass Effect, and Earthbound, with the intention of streaming 1 session a week of each until they were completed. Another great example is Relon Serrano. He used to be a longtime viewer of mine from years ago, but after Trump's election, and he figured out that 1, I'm a political centrist, and that 2, I was unwilling to ban or censor pro-Trump and pro-right speech in my chat room and comments, he began to show up less and less, until finally unfollowing me. Don't harass them about this, of course. I'm only bringing him up to prove a point. I didn't shit on him because he decided to leave. That's his choice. I do my best to be as close friends as I can with my viewers. And even at my small size, it's hard. But I try to remember at least something about everybody. Matapasta gifted us Outlast for last year's Halloween show, and is a massive racist. Berto Elcon was one of our first ever viewers. He's been around for a while. Dragon Fat Deposits lives in the Dominican. Max Dagger is an absolute pro at Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed. Nobody Is Watching is a cute girl from Texas. Pixel Precision loves to tell everybody about video game sales. Portable Niche is a degenerate porn lover. Tombahat loves to draw. Eston Ten Dog studies the Bible pretty in depth. Romad plays Dokkan Battle 18 hours a day. Torvar's a stay-at-home dad. I could keep going, but whenever a person chooses to pledge their time or their money to me, I make it a point to get to know them, even if only a little bit, and I will continue to do that to the best of my ability, no matter how big any of my channels get. Oh, and please, when I do get big, if I ever turn into an asshole, link me this video and remind me why I'm wrong. In the end, this whole CoxCon thing wasn't about drama at all. It was about yet another trusted voice turning out to be a hypocrite. And honestly, this one really disappointed me, guys. I had such respect for TotalBiscuit, and frankly, Angry Joe and Spoonie too, before their respective spurgouts. The discussion of ethics, the boycott, and the search for alternative sources that value open discussion and reject censorship extends far beyond the low-hanging fruit of Kotaku and Polygon. It also has its place on YouTube as well, regarding which channels deserve our patronage, and which deserve our ad blockers. A sub to a channel is an endorsement of its views and behavior, and that is why I can no longer, in good conscience, support TotalBiscuit. Thanks for watching, guys. Like I said at the start, this one kind of sucked to make, because up until CoxCon, I actually really respected TotalBiscuit. I definitely hope that he, pulls his head out of his ass and figures out what he's doing is wrong and is kind of costing him. I have no problem forgiving people. I have no problem for coming back to communities, resubscribing, but at this point, it really does seem like he's just going to stay the course. Next video is coming out on the 29th. It's a special one. I don't want to reveal the surprise, but it will be relatively big. Thank you to everyone who gives money to the Patreon. You guys are why I keep doing this. If you feel like following any of my gaming content, that's over at twitch.tv/shortfatotaku and youtube.com/c/notalentgaming. We try to stream and upload content 4 or 5 times a week, so if that interests you, come check it out. We'll probably be on after this video goes live, actually, so come say hi. Alright guys, I'm out of here. Thanks a lot. I love you.